Welcome. In this video we look to tackle some problems involving complex numbers. Now this is one that's a fairly easy problem, but a lot of people look at it real quickly and they end up messing it up. Because they see two things with parentheses and they think, oh, I'm going to multiply, forgetting about the plus sign in between. A plus sign in between says we're doing addition. So since there's really nothing being done with either of those sets of parentheses, we can just drop them. And to add or subtract complex numbers, remember, all we have to do is combine like terms. So 3 and 5 is 8. Negative 8i and a negative 2i gives us our answer as minus 10i. Careful not to fall into the trap of seeing two things in parentheses like this problem right here and jumping immediately to the conclusion that you're going to multiply. If you do that, you're going to end up making mistakes. So watch that one. As long as you avoid that mistake, this problem is not hard at all. In our second example down here, we have a multiplication problem. This time we know it's multiplication because there's nothing between them. So we know it's multiplication. So remember, with multiplication we have to distribute. 3 and 5 is 15. 3 minus 2 would be a minus 6i. 8 and 5 would be a minus 40i. And finally we have negative 8i and negative 2i would be a positive 16i squared. We start to simplify because there are some like terms right off the bat immediately available to us. But that's not the end, because we remember that I squared is a negative 1. So this is really plus 16 times a negative 1. So it's really minus 16. And so 15 and 16 are like terms. So we get negative 1 minus 46i as our answer. So remember, I squared is negative 1, so we make that substitution. And then our answer is once again now in the form of a complex number. We have a real part and then a part with the I, the imaginary part. So those two examples are pretty straightforward. And now we come finally to this example here where we're trying to divide two complex numbers. Now dividing by a complex number as a complex number is very complicated. So what we do is we say we want to turn it into a real number. Remember, we can do that by multiplying it by its conjugate. But we can't just multiply it by its conjugate and let everything else alone, because it's a fraction. We have to multiply both top and bottom by that same thing. Remember, the conjugate is just the same expression, except you change the sign. It was plus there, so it'll be minus here. And we do the same thing in the top, 3 minus 2i. So now we really just have two multiplication problems. You take a moment, pause it, try to do those two multiplication problems, and catch up with me in just a second. Don't go any further unless you want to see the answer without working out yourself, which won't help you very much. So take a moment, pause it now, and then catch up with me. Okay, so I do hope you really did pause it and work this out. But if you haven't, here I do have it worked out. The numerators, when you multiply out, we get negative 6 minus 22i. The denominators become 13. And then we put it back together. Now that we've put it back together, we can do the division, because now we're dividing by a real number. So we just distribute it. Get negative 6/13. And then you'll have minus 22/13 I. And there we have it. We've now divided our complex numbers, and the result is, again, a complex number. Hopefully these three examples will help you out now as you do arithmetic with your complex numbers. The only example I didn't put in here was a subtraction one. Subtraction, the only difference would be you would then be distributing that negative sign through the second quantity rather than just dropping the grouping symbols as we did here. Good luck, and until next time.